Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. So my name is Kat, and my colleague Ella has just arrived. She can sit here next to me. So me and Ella will give the presentation this afternoon from 3 to 4:30, and she will give this presentation a little bit more detailed, but in Chinese. So you guys, if you guys have any more questions, either you can ask us at the end of the presentation or in the afternoon when she gives her official presentation. Me and Ella, we are librarians at MUST, and we have been managing Scholar Hub, MUST Achievements databases. So these databases are part of the MUST database world, let's say. These databases manage, for example, achievements such as articles, books, book chapters, projects, and even patents. And in the future, we will be managing, for example, works of art that you students will produce. I don't know if some of you will be from FA or from the Academy of Film or even studying music. So we will be managing those achievements as well. What we want to do with the presentation today is explain to you guys a little bit how the student achievements database work. The Chinese presentation, because we know a lot of you speak fluent Chinese, of course, and it will be easier for you to understand. And so we invite you to also watch it this afternoon. And what we are trying to help you guys understand is first, how to upload your articles into the student achievement database, and later how you can manage this work a little bit easier, because I know some of students have contacted me and my colleagues regarding the upload of these, why, for example, your articles was not accepted, why it was submitted but didn't pass review. So we want to explain a little bit about this today. Okay, so first we will approach the importance of academic data management, the management and application of the student and scholar academic data, and then just some of the usage of this. So the first thing we're going to approach is student achievements database. So this database was launched this year. It started, and it mostly is trying to help students and professors and even the faculty members to manage this data. So data that you guys are producing. And why? Because you guys need to graduate. And for graduation, you guys maybe need to write one article or more than one article for some faculties, or even books, or even develop projects with your professors. So all of this needs to be managed. And before this, this work used to belong to the faculty, but it was a lot of work to manage by the faculty. And so MUST decided to create this database. So we are still improving it. And there's still many things, of course, we need to work on. And this is why we also need you guys to help us, for example, to test the database and upload your things. And also to help you understand, like, what is it you need to do when updating this data? Because after you guys graduate, you guys maybe find jobs as professors on other universities. And when you guys find this, you guys need to work with other types of databases in other institutions. And this can help you understand a little what you guys need to do. And so for the students database, so this is a platform for checking and submitting your achievements. This is basically just, a way to check the academic progress you guys have been having recently. And also in the future, well, we will put them together with the thesis submission database, which is another little database we already have, but we will be connecting these two in the future. So some of the main solutions is the students need to save and manage their own academic achievements. Right now is a little bit more for intention to graduate, but this database, we also want you guys to eventually use it more frequently. Every time you submit an article, submit a book project, a book chapter or a project, or even a patent, we want you guys to use this database to manage your own achievements. So in a way, you guys will be, well, forced, but also have a way to control what you produce and also showcase this, what you are producing, in fact. So everything that the results that you guys need to show, and then of course, select what you guys need for graduation. So this can also be helpful for you to manage what you have been producing. Also, with this database, we want to assist students in simplifying the graduation process and also help the faculty and the teachers to do so. As you can imagine, the teachers have a lot of students that they need to supervise. In this university, some teachers have over 20 students that they need to check. And so this database also aims to simplify this process and make sure there's no students forgotten, because the database is there to remind the teacher, oh, you have 5 students left that you still need to approve the work on, or still need to review their submission or their article. So this is actually helpful for everybody. And also, of course, we want to complement the university's MUST Achievement Database universe, because I just said previously, MUST has a lot of databases at the moment managing different things. And all of these ones you guys can check. So we have the thesis submission, we have academic progress, we have the student database, we have MUST Scholars Hub, which you guys may have already learned about. And we have the library with other kind of databases in itself. So all of this universe is connected, and we want to make the databases to feel like they are all working together to the same purpose, which is to manage university data and make sure every one of you guys, no matter if you guys are students, teachers, or even staff, can find a way to find useful information and help their work to be more streamlined and easier to understand and manage. Okay, so for the system automatic process, usually we will have like a collection, and then we will have someone who is doing the review of this collection. We have later the faculty review, and then we have, for example, the merged for most repositories. So let's say, for example, the thesis submission and even academic students database. So this is how usually it goes. So you will have, for example, usually someone who is either submitting the data or someone who is collecting the data and inputting them into a database. Then you have a review process. And of course, we have a faculty review situation going on, which of course they need to check for at last. And then of course, we will transfer this to other repositories. And this is usually how it works for most of the databases in MUST. In the case, for example, for students, we will have you guys doing the submission. So this means that when you write an article, a book chapter, or a project, you guys will submit this to the database. Then you have us, for example, in this case, Ella and our colleague Zhenghui doing the library verification. So what is this verification entails? What do we want when we are verifying? For example, we are verifying if you have uploaded your affiliation within the article. A lot of the times we have students who write articles, and on the paper, of course, we have the contents, right? We have your name, but we are lacking something very necessary, which is the affiliation. And for example, this is something you guys need to be very mindful of. When you guys are submitting articles or book chapters, you guys need to make sure to always ask the publisher to include your affiliation, which should be your faculty, right? And your university. And of course, the country or location where you guys are coming from. So in this case, for example, would be Macau SAR, will be MUST, and let's say Faculty of Law. A lot of the times when you guys are studying, whether it's for bachelor or master's or even PhD, you guys are writing the article or the book chapter within this. So this belongs to MUST. You guys are producers of MUST content. And so you guys need to make sure that when you do this work, the publisher is aware where you guys are writing from. And usually this affiliation needs to be here in the article or in the book chapter. Remember, one of the issues that your article maybe doesn't pass the review is exactly this issue, is that you guys forget to add the affiliation and insist with the publisher to write it. So you guys remember, always need to add this. So this is something that usually we pick up in the review process. So after the library verification, we have the supervisor review. This will be your direct supervisor, the person who is actually directing you, for example, helping you write the dissertation, giving you some bibliographic references, and I don't know, correcting your article. A lot of the times, remember, you are writing this article with your professor as well. And so one of the things you can do to accelerate the process is contact your supervisor. Once the library verifies this, you will receive a notification and you can immediately contact maybe your supervisor. For example, if it's taking a little bit too long, you guys can contact and say, Professor, have you checked my submission? How do you think? Do you think everything is okay? So yes, remember to contact your supervisor. Keep a clear communication channel. And then, of course, after your supervisor approves, we have then the faculty review, which is almost the last step. This step is a little bit easier because, okay, the library has already verified, supervisor has verified, and then it's just up to the faculty to maybe check the final details. Usually, if you complete all this process, you can see that the article or the book chapter has been added to the database. And of course, afterwards, we will merge this to other databases. For example, after the student database, now we are actually merging this to MUST Achievements. So your articles, your book chapters will be added to the MUST repository, which is actually really nice because before we wouldn't. We would separate, for example, professors and students' uploads, but actually now we are merging them all together. So this is actually great for you. If you develop a good paper, if it has a lot of good quality, you can be featured and it can be in the database, the MUST database. Okay, I don't know, has anybody used the student achievements database? Or not yet? Not yet. Okay, maybe you guys are still from bachelor and have not used it yet. So in the student achievements database, you guys will have, for example, already, if we already collected it, we have already the display. And so, for example, this is just an example that we have. This is a little bit of a testing phase, but this is mostly what you guys will see. So you guys will see, for example, all your uploads will be here. And this will be either collected from us, maybe, or already from your guys' submission. So these achievements, if you usually have any questions about this, usually we recommend you guys to always click the feedback button. Why? Because this can help us understand if there is anything wrong with the database or even with the way your article was submitted. Sometimes, as you guys can imagine, we have a lot of articles and book chapters to go through. It's enormous amount of work. And so if you guys feedback to us faster, it can help us understand what is wrong with a specific article or why the submission was not successful, or, for example, what kind of mistakes you have found. For the academic achievement application record, so this one, you can check the review status and all the application records. This is a little bit important. Why? Because sometimes when there is some collection, for example, automatic, or for example, coming from, let's say, the faculty or professor, something might be wrong. Or for example, someone identified and collected your name wrong with another student who has the same name. But for example, let's say you're from different faculties and it has nothing to do with what you are doing. So this is actually super important. So every time you see the review status. If it is failed or under review, or for example, if it's taking too long, you guys can check this process on the database, and it will be a little bit better for us to keep control of what has been uploaded or not. So usually, how can you, for example, apply for your article to be submitted? How can you submit your article? So first, you click Add Academic Application in the upper right corner. And then you need to fill in your reference information and upload supporting documents. What do we mean by uploading supporting documents? So, supporting documents, we mean communication with the publisher. For example, do you have emails? Did the publisher already send you the pre-proof? We are looking for this kind of proof. First, we are looking for proof of communication with the publisher. Something that tells us you actually did this. We don't want drafts. We don't want published documents. We want the official publication. And so this means when you are doing this process, you're not only inputting some data, but we also want the full text. This is extremely important. Usually when you guys submit something for a journal, they will always, or at least the majority of the times, some exceptions of course are included, they will always give you the full text of your article. And the full text means what? Means the official page, like the official PDF file, let's say, or I don't know, some other document format. But usually it's the official thing that they will publish either online or then print on paper. So what we want is, besides all those information, we want the full text. Remember, this is one of the proof that we have that you guys actually published something. And we are actually collecting this in ways to make sure we have this information, because a lot of the times, and sometimes especially in Chinese journals, it's difficult to access, either because you have to pay for it or because it's not accessible outside of China, and vice versa. This also happens sometimes with Western journals. So what we want is you guys to send us the full text. These kinds of things are the supporting documents that are required. So make sure you add this. Make sure you are not missing this. Okay, and then you will click submit. And also make sure you read this carefully. In fact, this is quite easy. We have changed a little bit this format to fit a simple kind of information. So we are not asking you the same thing we ask professors. Usually for professors, when they submit the articles or book chapters, we ask them a lot of information. For example, the journal keywords or some description or even DOI or some other characteristics that we ask, but we don't ask this of you guys. We already kept it very simple. So it should be title, authors, for example, description, summary, something very like pages. It's already something you guys can do very easily, but you guys need to read it carefully. So don't submit this without mindfulness, without responsibility. We need you guys to submit this carefully. Check what is required. Make sure you have the proof that we need so that we are not delaying the review process in the future, and that we are doing it like very streamlined and very smoothly. Okay, so after you guys submit, of course, this goes through the review process, as you guys can see here. So for example, in this case, this already passed through the library, it's already on the supervisor. In this case, this, you can always see that, by the way. So you will know exactly how your article, which institution or which department is processing your article or your achievement. And in this case, for example, the library already approved. And you guys can see here the type of information we require. For example, when we require the authors, we want you guys to add all the authors. In this case, you have, like, for example, some professors here, Professor Jui Jun, we want everything. We don't want just your name. So you guys really need to make sure everything is complete. We have the date, we have the title, we have a little bit of everything. And only research results that have passed the review of the instructor and department will be displayed and submitted in the end. I don't know, Ella, maybe you want to do a demonstration for the student achievement data? Yeah.
有没有同学可以上台的，就是登录一下你的 SHUB MUST 账号，然后这个老师会演示一下怎么去提交数据？有没有研究生这边
You guys want to try? Yeah.
可以上去帮老师演示一下。
那你要用手机扫码，扫那个二维码，扫那个 Linux 的Is it different? The transfer? No. Maybe I'll try to log into yours to check. Maybe he can help us because he may be able to access it. No. This one. Okay, the student has anything.
Can you maybe ask Corey to send the information those? We can do it, yeah. Okay, maybe we do the demo later when we find out. Okay. Then we just want to introduce a little bit MUST Scholars Hub. So the reason why we want to introduce this, and later we can do the demo with a little bit more calm. So MUST Scholars Hub is the database where we collect our scholars' profiles. And the reason why we always introduce this is because it's interesting for you guys to choose your supervisor or your area that you want to focus on while you're here studying for MUST. So the Scholar Hub is it started as a collection platform, and that served both inside and outside purposes. What do I mean by this? So internal or external purposes means that we wanted to collect the achievements of our scholars and professors, but we also wanted to showcase these achievements. And what do we mean by showcase? Well, we started to see a lot of universities actually focusing on how professors promote their research, how professors actually make sure everybody else in the scientific community and in other universities know about their achievements and what they have produced within a specific institution. For this, a lot of the universities just focus on what the scholars produce for their own university, which, okay, it also makes sense. But in fact, what we wanted to do with this is actually to focus on the career of the professor. Because a lot of the times, one professor can actually have many fields of expertise, or they focus on very specific things. So we wanted to showcase this and not just what they produce within MUST. So our aim was actually to promote both the situation where we can see where the professor started, what is he doing now, and eventually, of course, we will not follow the professor if he leaves, but we will keep collecting their data if, for example, he still collaborates within MUST. And this is actually very important because it can give you guys a large network of professors you can learn from. And so one of the things you can do is to enter MUST scholars. I think now if you search it on Google, it's already like available. And I'm not sure Baidu. I hope it's already like easily to search. But if you guys can't, you guys can just go to either the quick link on the MUST website, or for example, the library, the MUST library. And you can see this yellow logo or this white logo. So this is the main page, and these are just some of the statistics we have. So the main page, what we want is first, focus on the new scholars that have just entered MUST. And this can be a little bit useful for you guys, especially if you guys have new teachers that you guys don't know about. This actually could be really helpful for you to understand what the teacher specializes in and what are they strong at, what kind of research they have developed before. And you can obviously also immediately access their articles because we have a direct link for it. And so here you see like new scholars just come, and you see, for example, hot papers or some other statistics also nearby. We sometimes will announce, like, for example, some new things. For example, this year we had the IP Greater Bay Area IP competition. And so we will usually announce this kind of thing. So if you guys also want to compete with your professors, but you guys, for example, don't know how, you guys can also contact us for this. So this is just a brief overview of the page. So as you guys know, Professor Lee is our president, the president of the university, and you guys have some basic data. For example, what does he belong to, his org ID, for example, how many articles he has published. He has published, in this case, 427 articles. And this is actually really, really important. For example, you have the access to all the information, how many books, and for example, if he has participated in any projects. Then you can see, for example, his whole life. So this specific area is their timeline. And you guys can check, if you guys later click on each of these little things, you guys can check how many articles he has posted. And besides this, afterwards, below, you guys have the articles in itself. And as you can see, you have here WS or Scopus. These databases is where we mostly collect our data. And then for the Chinese data, we collected mostly from CNKI. Here you can have information on the co-authors that Professor Lee has collaborated with. You guys can also click this area to check more about it. And also you guys can have Professor Lee's CV. So if you guys, for example, prefer like to browse in a different format, you guys can access here. And this is, of course, maybe the most interesting part, which will be, for example, the keywords. So these keywords is something that you can easily identify based on your research or the classes you take. Whether, for example, in this case, Professor Lee is from FIE, so the University of Information and Engineering. And so this can be useful for you guys to check, oh, does Professor Lee develop research on my area? Can I, for example, do a master's and choose him as my supervisor or a PhD? So this is actually super important for you guys to check and decide who will better fit for your supervisor. We have, of course, a new feature. This has been added this year, which is a new search box, because before the database was a little bit outdated and we didn't have a really good searching method. And so now you can search not only for opinion, but also for the actual name in Hanzi, and of course, articles, projects, books, everything. This is just another example, like usually our scholars will use the Scholar Hub also as their interactive CV. So they will have their regular CV, for example, in this part, but then they will add the Scholar Hub to their actual CV. So if people actually want more detail or want, very updated information, they can immediately access there. One of the good things of having Scholar Hub is that we update it every week, mostly every day. This why? Because we collect data on the daily basis through WS and Scopus and CIKI daily. And this is made by machine. So it's a little bit easier than before, because before we had to do it all manually. So our Scholars Hub will always be much updated than the PDF file. And so that's why a lot of the scholars will sometimes add this to their profiles. This is just like a brief example. When someone did the page of these scholars, they added this to his Baidu page. And this is also very useful, not only for the professor, but for you guys as well. And so this is I just want to explain a little bit. I know it sounds a lot on this page. It's a little bit confusing, but actually this is mostly how we are working nowadays. And so, as I told you before, so our data sources, we have a lot. And for example, for articles, maybe it's WS and Scopus, but for book chapters, for example, it's WorldCat, like here. For Chinese data, for example, regarding patents, it's IncoPat or Inography or PetSnap. And then we have, of course, a lot of other sources of information that we use. Then our core databases is, of course, Scholar Hub and MUST Achievements, and now Student Achievements Database. And then we are having, which you guys cannot access yet, but your professors can, and the faculty members, which is the QLeak, which is something we use to collect all this, to use all this data to provide us some statistics. Okay, and is it? Okay, yes, we are ready to do the demo. Can you please come? Oh. Chinese is okay.
下面我用中文给大家解释一下这个应用吧。这就是一个学生学术成果，就是当你们可以在登录 SHUB MUST 之后呢，可以在这个科研这一块里面，学术科研这一块里面找到这个应用，或者是通过在上面检索，然后找到这个应用。这个应用呢，其实它的界面也是比较简单的。那它主要有2个模块，一个就是我的学术成果。这里呢，因为这个同学可能目前还没有发表成果，所以它这边是空的。 然后这里会显示这个学生的导师是谁。然后如果同学有发表过学术成果的话呢，那么这边就会显示我们成果库已经收录的学术成果。那显示包括会显示它的成果名称啊、来源出版物，还有作者的署名位置以及发表的状态、发表的时间等等。那至于这一项是否可纳入并符合课程学习计划发表要求，这一项就是由你们的导师以及学院来进行审核的。只有审核过的成果呢，才会自动同步到论文提交那个应用。当你们提交学位论文的时候，有的课程如果你们的学习计划当中有要求你们要发表学术论文的话，也就是你们所说的小论文的话，那你就在提交毕业论文的时候就需要事先在这边提交你的小论文，然后经过审核通过了才可以显示在那个论文提交应用当中。那如果平时我们收录了成果之后呢，如果大家看到有一些不是自己发表的成果的话，你可以在这边有个这边操作，这里有一个反馈的按钮，你们可以跟图书馆，就你们反馈的那些内容会反馈到图书馆那边，然后图书馆会进行一个核实和修改。另外就是这个第二个页面就是学术成果申请记录，这边呢就是给同学进行一个，如果你们发现我已经发表了论文，但是这边没有显示没有收录的话，你就可以手动去申请，在这个页面当中新增学术申请，在这里去申请，申请之后记录就会显示在这个页面当中。然后后续的一些审核的情况，你也可以在这边进行一些查看。这里呢显示的内容其实跟刚刚那个页面是差不多的。这一项是否符合课程学习计划发表要求，这一项也是由导师和图书馆来进行一个由导师和你们的学院来进行一个审核和确认。那在这边提交过的一些数据论文就成果呢，图书馆会进行一个核实。我们可以来看一下这个申请的页面。大家注意，你们提交的学术成果呢，必须是署名科大的，就是因为我们这是一个科大的一个成果库。所以我们成果库的一个基本条件就是你在发表的时候，你要署名澳门科技大学这样。然后点击之后，这就是一个申请的页面，其实也是比较简单的，都是一些基本的一些文献的信息。然后这里你可以选择你的成果类型，这些灰色的都是一些填写的一些指引吧。然后这里是成果的名称。还有出版物，你的论文的卷期页码，还有作者，还有你的署名位置，还有澳门科技大学的署名位置，还有发表的状态。如果你的论文已经发表的话呢，你就填已发表；如果是已经被期刊录用了，但是还没有发表的话呢，那你还需要提交一个出版社出具的一个已录用的一个证明。然后这里就填预计的发表日期，然后如果是会议的话，也可以会议论文也可以填一下会议的一些信息。那带星号的这些呢，都是必填的。然后这边还要提交一个论文的全文，或者是刚刚说的一个录用证明等等。然后你可以保存为草稿，也可以直接如果确认无误，也可以直接提交。
You guys have any questions or no? Okay, then that's it. If you guys have any questions regarding the submission, you can email us to the following emails. How many of you guys are from bachelor? Or is anyone from master's or PhD? No? Okay, so all bachelor, I guess. Okay, you guys are free to go.
同学有没有什么疑问吗？或者有什么想要交流的，都可以自由发